Aryna Sabalenka and Carlos Alcaraz take a bow. You two dominated the courts en route to your U.S. Open title. So let's talk about the competition, the vibes, and all the storylines to put the Open to bed with Courtside Les, tennis player, podcaster, content creator. She does it all. Les, thanks for hopping on with us. How you feeling today? You good?
Amazing. It was such an incredible day yesterday and Saturday. So I actually was in New York on Saturday. I didn't get to go to the US Open, but I was in the atmosphere and it was amazing. So I'm
All right.
feeling great.
All right, let's talk about it and break this thing down because I'm a little upset this morning that I couldn't start my morning off with one or two honeydews. But I did read somewhere that fans were saying the vibes of the U.S. Open were more like Coachella than a traditional tennis tournament. We saw the blue carpets, influencers, celebrities, we saw it all. So, as someone who's involved in both the actual sport and the lifestyle of the sport, what's your take on this year's atmosphere?
I think it was great. I'm very glad that tennis is getting this kind of exposure because to me, it felt like it was a Super Bowl vibe, right? You know, we're seeing the prices that are going to $10,000 to $11,000 per seat, which is absolutely insane. We're seeing a lot of people showing up, celebrities. There's a lot of influence. Now, the only concern that I had, for example, I didn't get invited to go to the US Open because I understand, a lot of brands bring people out there, but when I'm seeing a makeup influencer sitting courtside and watching tennis who knows nothing about tennis, I kind of felt some type of way. I wish I could go there. I tried to go, but the tickets were sold out on Saturday. So I was in New York on Saturday, was actually working with a different tennis brand that flew me out to New York. And I wanted to go see Sabalenka play because Sabalenka is from Belarus, I'm from Russia. So I kind of consider that home. And I didn't get to see that. So it was kind of sad.
So the fact that there was a makeup influencer there, not someone who knows like the sport, you think that's kind of watering down the sport in the tournament itself in terms of on the court production?
I think it's creating this gap between tennis and access to tennis, right? I actually had a conversation with somebody who doesn't know tennis, but they did get a chance to go to the US Open and they called it a very posh event, which again, tennis has notoriously been considered a very expensive sport that you can't really get access to. And so now with having all this influence out there, I feel like we're just widening that gap between the community and tennis, between bringing people into playing tennis with this like unreachable event now, like it's becoming something that you can get into. Yeah, you can go the first week, you can go watch people practice, which is great. I love that. But what they've created with the finals and towards the end of the tournament, tennis people are always saying don't go there because it's not about tennis. At that point, it's literally about the crowd, it's all about the influence, it's all about the brands presenting themselves. So we are kind of like, we don't even want to go there at that point, right? We want to go in the beginning, we want to get, because for us, for tennis players, we want to be involved. Like, I'm here to watch tennis, I'm not here to go look at a different influencer or a celebrity or a star. I can do that on my computer. I can do it on the TV screen. I want to watch. I want to hear I want to see that impact that the tennis ball is making. I want to see how they're hitting that ball. I want to see that power in real life. Like seeing Alcaraz serve 130 miles an hour. How does that even sound? Like, because I've never seen that before. So, to me, that's what I want to see.
Okay, well, football fans, we share the same sentiment because the Swifties have taken over the NFL. So, I guess it's just something that we're going to have to get used to because this is the future of sport. But let's talk about on the court. Me and you, we're athletes. Let's talk about the nitty and gritty. We'll start with the men's final. I guess what stood out to you most in the men's final and kind of walk us through that turning point that told you that, Alcaraz is about to win his second straight Open.
I am a huge fan of Alcaraz, okay? I will tell you, one thing that stood out to me the most was his athleticism. How do you get some of those balls back? How do you return those balls? How do you redirect the ball with such power? That's something that I was sitting here and I was like, whoa, this is mind blowing that this is even humanly possible. Sometimes you would see Sinner hitting that forehand cross court and with so much power, like the amount of his hip rotation, everything. There's no way. And Alcaraz gets it back and he gets it back and he's doing so many different spins and the level of tennis that we've seen with men's finals was incredible. I honestly don't think I've ever seen anything of a kind before. The power that we saw on there, the spin that we saw on the ball, the movement that we saw there, that was just absolutely incredible. And again, the turning point for me was when Alcaraz got the third set 6-1. We kind of knew that the crowd is on his side and there's no turning point. He was so hungry for it, and the way he stayed in it mentally, I think that's what broke Sinner down. And I'm very impressed with Sinner. I think Sinner is one of the most phenomenal tennis players, but he just didn't have it in him, and I feel like he's frankly getting tired. So Alcaraz just took over, and I was sitting there, I was like, please, can we just get to the fifth set? I kind of want to have a fifth set because I just want to see this tennis continue. That's how impressed I was with that final.
Well, I was impressed with Sabalenka on the women's final side and how she was easily able to defend her title by defeating American Amanda Anisimova. Sabalenka only dropped one set the entire final. So were you surprised that she was able to win it all without even, I guess, breaking a sweat?
No, she definitely broke a sweat. I think she was sweating. In the beginning, she was sweating. She was sweating a lot. And what Sabalenka did, incredible. In the second set, she stayed level-headed. With Sabalenka, she gets in her head a lot. And that's what happens with a lot of tennis players. Because imagine the pressure. The pressure of you winning is harder than the pressure of you losing, right? So they got to the second set at 6-6. You could see Sabalenka is breathing, and she's so present in the game. She's there. She's not giving up. Like, she's not thinking, oh, I won or I lost. You could, her eyes were telling me that this is it. This is hers. I literally predicted that. I was like, this is happening. She's about to get the title. And Anisimova, she got a little bit in her head, just a little bit. But I got to say, I'm sorry, but I'm so impressed with Amanda. I think she did a phenomenal job. Back-to-back finals. That is incredible. That is impressive. And, I got to say about the women's finals, both women are so resilient. The way that they played tennis was something that, I think we've all prayed for, because after watching the Wimbledon finals, that was a little bit upsetting. And you see this level of tennis and you're just like, wow, is this what we actually get to witness? Anisimova's power, how? I mean, she's such a phenomenal tennis player. And another thing about both of those women is their stories. They have a very similar story with losing their dads and, taking some time off tennis, especially when Anisimova, she was in qualifiers last year, and now this year she is number 4 in the world. We got to give her flowers too. But Sabalenka, she is one of my favorite tennis players. I love the way that she plays. I love her power. I love her passion for tennis, and I love her emotions. Frankly, I love that she's so emotional in the tennis court. And, because Anisimova, she's also born to Russian parents. So that's why I'm like, I love them both. I couldn't even choose, but I was so happy for both of them. I think it was a phenomenal level of tennis. Honestly, I don't think we've seen that kind of level of tennis before, especially in the finals. That was kind of like Madison Keys all over in the Australian Open, Sabalenka, and she did it. And I just think it's amazing, and she deserved it. She deserved it so much.
Okay, she definitely gets her flowers. All right, let's wrap up this interview in around 3 or so weeks of nonstop tennis action. I'm gonna put you on the spot here. If you were to sum up this year's U.S. Open in one single phrase, what would it be and why? Go.
The U.S. Open was the most phenomenal tournament of this year, and I think that we have faith that tennis is the sport that we are all excited about yet again.
All right, Les, thanks for hopping on with us.
Thank you so much for having me.